basically interview that person. It's kind of similar like a job interview. You want to find a person that matched the job description the most and like could be there for a long time.
Guys thinks in a materialistic and logical thing. Like, hey, if I can provide all the resources to pay for expensive dinner, then I should be the best mate for you.
Care about yourself, care about your safety. If someone wants to meet you on a first date at their house, no, say no, please. You don't know that person.
Understand what your values are and make sure that the next person or the partner that you're with share that same value.
Yeah, it's important to leave the fantasy out and start like working on real life stuff.
Welcome to the Kaizen Blueprint, the podcast dedicated to helping you achieve a better life through continuous improvement. If you're ready to elevate your finances, grow your investments, and unlock your full potential, you're in the right place. Each episode brings expert insights on personal development, finance, and real estate, giving you the tools to build lasting success. Now, let's dive into today's episode. We're in this podcast. This is a completely off-the-cuff, unstructured podcast with my girlfriend, Haley. Haley Thu Pham. It's her American name that she chose out of a whim. Let's start with that. And then Thu, it's actually Toe.
It's Toe.
Same thing.
Same. Okay.
So it's Haley Thu Pham.
He's just gaslighting me.
I'm not gaslighting you. I'm just moving on to the next subject. So why did you choose Haley as your name? Let's start off with that. Off the cuff, completely, and we'll dive deep about our relationship and things like that.
Well, for my name, at first I picked Victoria.
Not Victoria, not victorious, Victory.
Victory
with an I.
Name. Yeah, what's a name? As a name. But then someone told me I look like a Haley, so I just like go for it. I don't really have a preference because when I first came to America, everyone called my Vietnamese name like they butcher it, and I didn't like how that sound, so I just pick American name. But then as time goes on, I don't really care about how people call me anymore. It could be Haley, it could be Thu.
Yeah, you mentioned in that sentence alone, and we could talk about more about that and about your upbringing. And now that you move into United States, what has changed and what have you learned along the way that kind of made you feel comfortable in a relationship now? Let's talk about your upbringing first.
Well, when I first came here, it was for school, and I was born and raised in Vietnam for like 19 years, and then I decided I want to go to a different country and experience like different things without my parents.
And how old were you?
I was 19 when I moved here. Don't ask me how old I am now. Don't worry about it. But it's been a while since I live here. And, when you first came here, you didn't know anything. Well, at least I know the language, but it's not enough to like communicate like freely, comfortably with people. And I always have a sense of like shyness when I try to talk to people or strike a conversation. So I never initiate any conversation with anybody. But if people like randomly talk to me, and I would just carry on, but I never initiate. And along the line, I learned a lot about not just about American culture, but also about myself, how I grow each year and meet a lot of nice people, make a lot of new friends.
Okay. And tell us more, because you came here by yourself. You were independent and you kind of went on your own at 19 years old. How has that affect your life now, and how was it back then?
Well, to be honest, when I first came here, I lived with my uncle's family, and I lived there for almost a year. And I'm always grateful for the time that I lived there. He taught me a lot about how being independent, how to save and stuff like that. And I'm always grateful about the things that I learned from him and his family. And it was really hard to adapt to like a new environment and like a new family, because I was born and raised in different environment and different cultures. So when I first came here, I tried to like improve myself and try to adapt more to the environment in a way that before I never knew about like how to save because like my parents pay for everything. So, and I didn't have to make a living until I've moved to the United States. So, never know how to save, never know about credit cards and stuff like that because in Vietnam we use cash. We pay everything with cash, even a house. Then when I came here, I know about like credit score, credit card, how to save, how to spend.
And who taught you that? Yourself? Necessity?
Well, yeah, because when I came here, I didn't have a lot of money, although like my parents paid for my tuition, but still I didn't have a lot of money for daily life. So I have to work part-time to provide for myself. And when I work part-time, I was like, oh my gosh, this money is not enough to do anything. I have to like save. Although I try to, well, I like fashion and I spend some on like clothes and bags and stuff, but I always buy them on sales. I never pay full price for anything.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, that is important. Well, one thing first, you come from a upbringing of family that takes care of you where you are comfortable. And kudos to that. And that's amazing and all, but it kind of shift your mindset, your logic thinking and just survivability have changed when you came over to United States for whatever reason and you became independent. And that's really, really important for people who are immigrants. And there's a lot of them, maybe most of them are older than where you are, where they want to have a better opportunity for their family, better resources. Maybe they just came here by themselves, like you are, to provide money for their family back at home. But regardless of that, it's a very difficult transition because, yeah, you have your uncle here, but you're still on your own. Your family is still there to support you, but you have to figure things out. And that kind of force you to learn the adult things in life. And that's what I really enjoy about you.
Yeah, thank you about that. But I won't take all the credit for myself. To be honest, I'm always grateful that I have such a good parents that they always help me. They always there for like emotional support and also financial support if I like fall on my feet and stuff. But yeah, independence is just like one thing, but learning, like the learning part is important because when I came here, I didn't know a lot about like either the language or like the culture. And I just have to like start reading, doing research about stuff to being able to attend American school. So that also a hard part. But otherwise, I just like, I've always been grateful for everything in life. But we talked about this last night that I said I regret my parents put money for me to go to US because it could go so like it could.
Could be invested in their
Yeah.
own assets and let it grow as opposed to investing in you. And I remember that in that same conversation, I don't think, well, I think your parents are in a position where finance or money is not as important as the growth of their two kids, which is you and your brother.
Yeah.
And I think that you shouldn't feel bad about the money they spent and rather focus on the future. Don't focus on what has happened in the past and the decision that they've made and you've made, and focus on what makes them happy and seeing your success, your growth, and your prosper, because that's an investment of itself as opposed to the assets that they sold in order for you to survive or to get a better education in the United States.
Yeah, I feel that way, but there's just always some sense of guilt and like you feel like your parents put a lot in you, but you don't create much like profit or stuff like that
You
from.
just think of yourself as a business.
But yeah, I feel that way. I feel that way. People like perceive me as someone who always like to dress up, like to probably like to travel, spend money, but behind the scene it's actually I buy everything on sales. It's never full price. So I'm really always on a budget. I don't like spend too much on clothes and stuff. But yeah.
Well, going back unnecessary comments, but
I have
going back to
I have ADHD, so
well,
yeah,
going back that, and that's why I'm here. I'm trying to reel it back into our initial conversation about our parents.
yeah.
And I just want to talk about like my upbringing so that
Mm,
both audience can know where both of us come from, and we'll talk about the relationship and all that good stuff. Well, while you come from a comfortable upbringing and somewhat turn into independence on your own, I'm from opposite kind of upbringing where my parents were poor.
mm,
And Indonesia, I came here in 2005. I was 7 or 8 years old at the time. And my parents were poor. When we first came in, my dad came in 2001 and me and my mom came in 2005. We don't have any other family members that live with us that we know of, at least now. So when my dad came here in 2001, he was knocking on different businesses, different doors, just so we can find a better kind of opportunity, but a better start. And that's
mhm,
what he started doing in the first 4 years that he was here, 2001. And then we came in 2005. And when we came in 2005, we already have a house and he just financed a car basically. And at the time, economics were really good and you could even buy a house as long as you have a credit score and you breathe. That's it. And that was before, the great financial crisis, which is in 2008.
mm,
But regardless of that, when we first came, even though we had a house and a car, it was all finance.
mm,
It was all through a loan in a bank. And our first few years, my dad bought a 800 square foot home that we still owns today. It's a 3 beds and 1 bath, and we had a primary room, and we actually used that up for me, my mom, and my dad. We were sleeping in one room, and then
mm,
the other 2 rooms we were renting it out to other people, and we
mhm,
shared the same bathroom, the same kitchen, and that's how we kind of started. And my parents were always great savers. They're really, really frugal to a point where it's like borderline cheap, but that helped a lot because I've seen them like, "Hey, don't spend money on this. Why?" And I was starting working as well. My dad took me in, and we had like a cleaning franchise at the time. So I was
mm,
starting work at 9 years old, and that kind of built the independence that I need because one, yeah, I started working, but I couldn't touch the money, and I was making like $5 a day. So it was really, really truly child labor at its finest. Like
Don't put it that way.
like it was bad, but at the time I hated it. Like
Mhm,
I had to go to school and afterwards all my friends would go out and play and I had to hurry up and get ready and we would drive to multiple different places and clean and I like to joke around while
mm,
and one of the places were school and I like to say that while all the other kids were playing basketball and sport, I was cleaning toilets. But
mhm.
that built that independence where you started when you came here, but
Yeah.
that's where I built my independence of like, I'm not touching my own money, which was a good thing at the time now I think
Mhm.
about it, but I hated it at the time. I
Yeah.
was working at an early age and I didn't want to be kind of where my parents were. I wanted to spend money for my family and our necessity, and we don't have to worry about how much we have in our bank account in order to pay for a restaurant or pay for some entertainment and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's where I come from. So I like to say that we come from a different upbringing where, you kind of more on a comfortable stage and I was on
Mhm.
more of like struggling stage. And when we kind of meet in the middle of like, we're not really, really rich, but we're not really, really poor, but
Mhm.
we're okay where we are, where we're comfortable and we could go out and do things on our own.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of match in a way. And that gives us an opportunity to share a time and space with each
Do we
other.
match?
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
We match on Hinge.
So, well, yeah, we could start with that, but let's talk about your perspective of your dating life, and then we'll go to mine, and we'll dive deep
What do
into
you
that.
mean my dating life?
Well, your dating life before we were dating. Let's talk about that.
Well, before we dating, I was on the dating app for a couple months, for like 2 months.
Why?
Well, because, um, it's just kinda are we gonna cut this later? But
What? None of this is cut. What you mean?
okay. It's fine to be honest to bring this up. I broke up with my ex last year, and then my friend was like, "Just go on dating app." And I mean, I was on dating app before, but I
During
didn't
your
like it.
boyfriend or you were
Excuse
since
me.
before?
I was on dating apps before I met my ex-boyfriend. I met him on Facebook.
Okay.
He's a friend of like friend,
And so it's
but
a Facebook friend because I know that now Facebook have a dating app.
yeah, Facebook friends, but not
Sure.
on Facebook dating. I was
Shoot your shot. On Facebook, on MySpace,
Facebook is such a
men, shoot your shot.
no, Facebook is a very poor dating pool for a woman, to be honest. It's free, so everyone's can be on there.
So is all the other dating apps, unless you want to get more likes or get your profile out there.
Mm,
Well, going back, yeah,
yeah, go.
it's just not the right place for the demographics in which you are a millennial or Gen Z. I
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. So I was on dating app for like 2 months, going on a lot of dates,
Really? No way.
but it didn't mean anything. The reason that we can comfortably talking about this now because we've been talking about it already off camera, like on first couple dates. Yeah, we talked about this. And it was just a learning experiment for me because I was shy and I couldn't like talk to people before. Not that I can talk to people now, but because I was shy and I couldn't like strike a conversation just like freely, comfortably with people. So going on these dates is to learn about what you like and what you don't like, what your non negotiables and what you can like tolerate on some level from the other person. And also learn like communication skills, improv skills that someone has to take a class for. But yeah.
So I took an improv class, and we'll talk about me in a second. But I took an improv class, and it does help. But I also paid money.
Mm.
Her dates, I'm pretty sure most of the traditional sense and most guys, she get free dinner
Well, they offer to pay. They are gentlemen. And so are you.
offered. It was more of insist.
Ah.
Mm. So what did you learn in terms of what you like and don't like in a person, and how long? I mean, is there a number actually that you figured that out? Is it after 5 dates or maybe more? But let's talk more on a filtering aspect. Did it help? And
Mm,
what you figure out what you like and don't like.
okay. In the first couple people that I met, I didn't know what to ask them. And I tend to be like very nervous when I talk to like a guy in general. But then as time goes on, I decide, okay, this is a wrong way of dating. I don't know if it happens to any of other girls out there, but I feel like women tend to get emotionally attached too soon, only in like the chat, like the message phase.
Interesting.
Yeah. Like if you send a good morning to a girl and or like you ask her throughout the day, like check in on her, and she could like develop like emotion through text message. I don't know, but that happened to me and some of my friends before. So yeah. So I feel like, okay, I only talked to one person and I went on one date with that person. But then it turns out I don't like that person in real life. I only like him like when he texts me. So I figure, okay, this is the wrong way of dating. I can't waste my time like this.
Was he different in person?
I would say there's no chemistry and there's no attraction there when we met in person. And even the way he expressed himself or me express myself, like it just didn't match
Sure.
in a way. And we like in the first couple dates, we only talk about like what color you like, what movies you like. After
Basic.
time, right? After time, like I figure, oh, like I should ask the person that go on a dates with me the questions that matters. Like, what is your view about marriage or what's your view about children? If you're a girl that you want a long-term relationship, just like put that out there. or you ask him about his childhood or stuff like that, because sometimes their childhood could be a big factor that influence how they grow up and their behavior in a relationship. Yeah, like ask, like basically interview that person. It's kind of similar like a job interview. You
Mhm.
want to find a person that matched the job description the most and like could be there for a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that's important usually on first dates, and I tell this to all my guy friends who are single and putting themselves out there. I don't think you should spend so much money on your first date. You
Right.
should spend either a coffee date or somewhat a non-expensive kind of date here. And usually that first date is just to get to know each other as if you guys are friends. It's not
Right.
that you have like something behind the scenes of I really want to get with this girl or guy and there's like an intention behind it. There should be some sort of filtering system and you ask the right questions, but people with that not that many experience might think differently of maybe I'm a guy and this is let's talk about the online dating and this is the only girl that like me, so I really got to try really hard for this person, whereas women have maybe multiple different options, so you might not be as serious in a
Mm.
conversation or maybe picking the right person that kind of, stringently. So you're kind of okay with not putting too hard of a question out there. What do you think?
So I would comment on this like from woman's perspective because a lot like social media is so big right now and there are a lot of relationship advice, like free relationship advice on TikTok or like Facebook or Instagram. And these people would advise you to like raise your standard. Like you should expect a dinner, at least a dinner on a first date. But I don't think it's a you can have a dinner, but it's not always like the case. You can enjoy a company just with like coffee date or ice cream date. Like you want to learn about the person. You don't really care about like what you eat or what you drink that day.
Mm.
But one more controversial thing is what do you think about 50-50 on first date?
I'm more of a traditional sense of I'll pay for the first date, and if you decide to pay, then I don't mind it. It's really up to the two parties and how they feel within a relationship. But most of the time, in the traditional sense, the guys would pay. And I think to add on from there, like that's the reason why I didn't want to go, at least personally for me, like I didn't want to go to a super expensive place because I know that I'll be expecting and I know I will
Mhm.
pay for that. And if I'm going, maybe multiple dates in case if the previous one doesn't work, like I have to pay for that.
Mhm.
And even with like the dating apps, right? I have to pick and choose which one I want
Mhm.
to go on a first date with because I know
Yeah.
I'm going to pay. And then if I'm going on like multiple first dates, I'm like, I don't really want to, like, why am I spending money and time for things that aren't working? And that's why it's really important for you to have that initial conversation, maybe do a little bit of homework of like, who is this person? And see if they have some sort of attraction to you based on the messages, based on the questions that were asked, and you filter those out. I think most guys, they just shoot their shot, whatever hits, they're gonna go for it. As opposed to guys, maybe not raise the standard too high, but enough for you to understand what you like and don't like. And give a somewhat of a chance for a person, for a woman or a guy to be kind of, maybe their profile isn't the end all be all. Maybe their pictures is just some sort of, not the best pictures.
Yeah.
But then when you see them in person, it's like, holy hell, you're a better person than than
Mhm.
than online.
Yeah,
So
that's how I feel about you when I met you in person.
thanks.
'Cause you put, like, all non-face like, there's no of your there barely any photo of your face, your actual face in there. It's only about your travel destination and stuff. We gonna talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But, I feel like it's an ego thing for guys to like spend a lot on a first date. I feel like in some guys' perspective, it's like, okay, let me show this girl that I can like provide or I can like pay for stuff.
That's because two things. One is a guys things in a materialistic and logical thing.
Mhm.
Like, hey, if I can provide all the resources to pay for expensive dinner, then I should be the best mate for you. Because guys think that women think like guys. And for example, like just because we're bigger and muscular, we're gonna get a lot of women. Just because I have a six pack, we're getting a lot of women. But
Mm,
it's definitely more than that because it's about your personality, it's about your character, it's about how you have confidence in yourself. What responsibilities do you have with with your pets, your family, and how that translates into
and your values.
and your values too. So that's one. The guys think that girls thinks like guys. And number two is usually a competition with other guys.
True.
Like, if I could bring this woman into this fancy place and then you see all the other, guys and gals who are out there and you see the level of standard that you provide for yourself, then or maybe you have a conversation with a friend. It's like, yeah, I took her out to this location and it's super expensive. I can afford it. It's an ego thing
Yeah.
from a guy to guy perspective. And I think that translates into the dating world or maybe in the social media that we see
Mhm.
of, put yourself out there and raise your standards and things like that. And, for me, it's the opposite. I like to start low. Start low and build yourself up.
Yeah, when a guy that started out on a first date with very expensive dinner, and the girl gonna expect more. Like the girl either gonna expect more dinners like this gonna happen, or like this lifestyles have to last for a long time. So if you think you can keep up with that lifestyle, expensive dinner, always eating out, or like go to expensive places, then you can do whatever you want, start out big. But if you think you're not sure that you can keep up with it, then you shouldn't set that high of expectations for
And
girls.
yeah, and that's the thing too, right? If you are a guy and you're taking out girls on a first date, you shouldn't put a lot of emphasis on where you're going
Mhm.
or what you're going to do. Put more emphasis is how you carry yourself, how you have confidence, how you have a conversation with women. Women love having conversations,
Mhm.
asking the
Yeah.
right question as opposed to, oh, what's your favorite place that you want to travel to? Or those generic questions. Those first dates, even though they're somewhat of an interview conversations, get to know the other person, it's really important to filter out like what's are the non-negotiables or what
Yeah.
are the things that you can compromise, what are the things that you find attractive in another partner, and that's really important as opposed to I think we should go to this dinner and I think it's this expensive and this
Yeah.
menu. Worry about the things that you want to talk about with the other person and your character.
Yeah, that's so true. In one of my past old dates, we talk about like
Free.
cars. Always free, girls. But like I went on a date and we all talk about cars, and I don't even like cars like that. We talk about cars, we talk about movies, we talk about travel destination. Although I love travel, but it should be the lowest priority to talk about on like first couple dates. You should ask about what your goal in life. If you're a girl, you want to know about what he do, then you ask about what he's passionate about. What do you love to do? Like don't work for money, then what is a career that you want to work at? What do you want to do? Stuff like that.
And I want to preface this for all the audience that are listening to this. This is our own opinions.
Mhm.
Obviously,
Yeah.
other women and guys have different
Right.
interests and different perspective on life. This is how we see and how we
Yeah.
fit among ourselves and what we think is best in our own opinion.
Yeah.
And none of us is super factual. It's
Mhm.
just based on our experience
Yeah.
and our like
It's
I said,
it's
perspective.
not it's not an advice or anything. It's just like my opinion because I've come from a traditional background. So this is the thing that I want to put out there. I want a long-term relationship. I want a person who's ambitious, who hardworking. I want a person who take care of his family, who can provide. And a lot of these things, I set my standard like that. So in the first couple dates, I would just talk about it
Yeah,
to you.
great. So let's shift gear here and talk about the male's perspective
Hmm.
on the dating apps, right? For women, it's you have a lot of options. You have a lot of likes, and assuming that you're somewhat attractive to a pool of guys and gals demographics, depending on your sex preference. But usually women have a lot of options. You have a lot of likes. Maybe it's too overwhelming at times.
Hmm.
However, guys is the opposite, where sometimes we have to pay extra in order to get likes and put ourselves out there. And there's actually there's more science than art, in my opinion, from a guy's perspective,
Mm.
because if you look at guys' profile on the dating apps and social media, they don't really put a lot of emphasis on that
Yeah.
in terms of maybe fashion, maybe pictures, and that's really how you stand out to most other guys. You mentioned earlier that I had, traveling pictures, and that is a great conversation starter. Actually, that's how we started talking, right? So it works. And I think there, like I said, there's a lot of science. I think most guys, we should have a good pictures, anything that could sell ourselves, that could have interest to women. Because this is all like marketing in a way, because you're
Hmm.
marketing yourself to a pool
Yeah.
of people who are in your area that you want to have some sort of attraction to. And then obviously you like and comment on other people too. But yeah, you want to have some sort of engaging, profile description. Like what makes you an authentic you that people can get into and become more
Hmm.
interested, as
Yeah.
opposed to some corny quotes or some sort of masculine
I have
type.
corny quotes on my profile.
But you're a woman. I'm talking about guys. And then once women engage interest, and that's when you have a conversation. But you don't
Hmm.
want to have a too much conversation with that woman, because you might show yourself too much up in the front end
Yeah.
that kind of deter the interest. And that's where kind of like, when you have, for example, like not necessarily sales, but like items, especially in the luxury good items where, limited edition, you want to apply that same concept to the dating conversations, where you want to gauge her interest, but you don't want to put too much out there for her to like, okay, I know enough to this person where I don't need to meet this person. But you want to have some sort of interest. It's like an emotional thing, right?
Yeah.
Have a little sense of mystery in order
Yeah.
for her to start thinking, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Like
Trigger
that.
curiosity.
Psychology. Men, listen. So
Did it work?
look at us now. So that's kind of is the main thing. And
Mm.
like I said, the reason why you want to have that sense of mystery is so that she could gauge enough interest for you to get the first date. And then
The
that's
hell? You
and
was
whoa, whoa,
so
whoa.
nonchalant in the first message.
And
Like
like
you
I
didn't
said,
even.
mysterious. I like to
I
call it
was so
Mr.
pissed, guys. I was so pissed.
Anyway, so we were talking for a little bit, and like I said, the most important thing about that initial conversation, especially on dating apps, is two things. One is to get her number, and then two, to figure out where to meet in person.
Mm.
And those two are usually the main goal, and that was my main goal. And I think I spent what, less than 10 messages on you.
Yeah, if literally on on the app you asked me no, you asked like 3 questions, and then that's it.
Yeah, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Then I'm like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah. So limited edition.
And I'm to be honest, I'm a girl and I really put a lot of concern on my like safe and security. So when he only talked to me for like a little bit, like he texted me for less than 10 messages and then I agreed to meet up, I was like, I was a little scared to be honest. But then it turned out fine. So I'm
And
glad.
yeah, and for most women, the thing is, gotta have that sense of safety, right? That
Mm.
and most guys should understand that
Yeah.
when you're out there, there's so much things that that could harm you. You're so
Mhm.
vulnerable.
Yeah.
And a guy's job usually is trying to keep you safe, to be protected, especially when you don't know each other. Then both parties have to be cautious, but at the same time, it's okay to be vulnerable, at least in that first initial date.
How do you catch a red flag when you just like first talking stage?
I think you should know before the date what your non negotiables are,
Mhm.
right? Like, technically, those are red flags.
Yeah.
And you should already know that when you have that initial conversation or perhaps the profile. But if they've done it so well that you agreed on it, and then when you meet in person, it's completely different than what you thought it was, just politely say, "Hey, I don't think this is working out. I
Mhm.
think I'm okay with, as a woman, I'm okay with splitting the bill 50-50. I'll pay my portion, you'll pay your portion.
Mhm.
It's been amazing. I hope that you find a
Yeah.
better candidate."
Yeah, I read on Reddit a lot of case that women go on dates and ended up not in a good place, you know? So I just want to like emphasize on this care about yourself, care about your safety. If someone wants to meet you on a first date at their house, no, say no, please. You don't know that person. So you don't know what he has in his house and he could lock you up or something. It's
Okay.
there are a lot of horrible dating stories on Reddit. If you want to know, just look it up and I'm serious, like care about yourself the most. Like don't even care about like, oh, I like this person so much. I don't want to let him down or let her down. No.
Yeah, for consequently for guys, right? We always want to put in a public
Mhm.
place, and why do we want to share our address when we don't even know the person? It's like giving a stranger our address
Yeah.
basically to where we live. But for most like good guys, I recommend going to a place that you know, that you feel that
That's
because
on
most.
your budget.
Yeah, that too, but I think most guys, they tend to try to find a place where it's completely different out of their realm, completely out of their kind of like the monetary aspects, way more expensive than what they usually go for.
Mhm.
But I think it's really important that you go to a place where you feel comfortable,
Mhm.
because obviously if you feel comfortable, then the other person will feel comfortable. It's like the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And once you have that, and that's where I took you on the first day. Like, I go there almost every other week.
Tell him where you took me on a first date.
So there's this restaurant called Sky Cafe. It's relatively cheap. It's Indonesian food. I'm Indonesian, so I'm able to pinpoint like what's good and what's not good, or actually everything is really good.
Mhm.
But
It's my first time try Indonesian food on the first date, to be honest.
yeah,
And
so
it's so good. I
and
was amazed.
yeah, and the good thing about our first day is we instantly connected.
Mm.
We had
Were we
we had the similar experience.
Mm,
Well, you had experience with talking to the previous dates. I had experience in terms of I had previous partners,
mm.
his girlfriends, and we both know what were our non-negotiables. And at the time, shout out to improv. I took improv class, and that has helped me. I didn't even talk about like why I went to the dating app first, but then
Mm.
we jumped into the first day. But we'll jump on that later. But yeah, so our first day, we instantly connected. I was given the award of the longest date that she ever had. So that was an awesome, again, shout out to improv. But tell me more about your perspective on our first date.
On our first date, I roast you a lot and you did too. Didn't know how that's gonna work out like this, but yeah.
Mm.
Like we roast each other. We instantly like comfortable, being comfortable around each other. Like, oh, and a lot of girls believe that if you have some kind of butterfly feeling in your stomach when you meet a person on the first date, then it means it's the one. No, it's not. No, it's not true. It's your body telling you you should run. It's your body warning you. That butterfly feeling is not it's not about like he's the one or not. So don't. But
Did
yeah.
did you have butterfly feeling?
I did not have butterfly feeling with you, but we had such a good time. We talk about a lot of different stuff. We talk about how you very organized and I'm not. And I like to document things in terms of taking photos a lot wherever I go. And you don't, oh, I asked you, is this a red flag if I like to take photos? And you said no.
Yeah, it's just no until your
Ah,
memory runs out, gigabytes, and you gotta get you another phone.
well, I'm using your phone now.
And you're not using
I'm using your
my
phone.
phone is locked.
Whatever. I know the passcode.
Anyways, so yeah, so we went on that first date,
Mm.
and yeah, great food, and we roasted each other a lot. Well, we actually went to a dog park, a nearby dog park, and every single dog that she saw, she kind of pointed at me and look, it's you, stating that I look like the dog of multiple different breeds.
I don't know why I'm so comfortable with people like that. I wasn't that way before, to be honest. Like, I was so shy before. I'm a humorous person.
Really,
Excuse you?
humorous is kind of overstating it, but sure.
You did not just go there.
Over here.
But I had some sense of humor, but it's just hard for me to like express it to people. But I didn't know how, like, why I was so comfortable with you on our first date.
Some I'm a G like
Yeah.
that. Well, let's go back and go backtrack a little bit and why I came into
Yeah.
the dating app, and you
Why?
could share
I never
some
know about
questions.
this.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah, we talk about everything.
Yeah, so back then I had an ex. We were at it for maybe 3.5 years, and she was there. She was a great person, and there were some things that ended up not working out for us, and we decided to part ways. I have, make mistakes of my own that maybe because I was naive, maybe because I was still growing up, maybe I'm still trying to figure things out, but I wasn't established at the time. And she was a great person. But because of the longevity of that relationship, I became comfortable. We, like, I didn't know how to initiate stuff. And that was really, really difficult for me. I didn't have enough confidence because I was with her. It was just her, and I could just do stuff and things like that. But like, once you got out of that relationship, it's difficult.
Mm.
Like, because most women, as you mentioned, are very cautious. They are, I can't just go up to a woman and be like, kiss me, right? It's kind of weird. But what I've learned is that throughout my relationship with my ex, I was learning mostly business stuff because that's where I came from. Learning real estate, learning business. Everything is so logical. Everything is so, like, there's a process, right? There's logic behind certain things because
Mm.
if this happened, then this happened.
Mhm.
It's a completely different spectrum when it comes to, I say real estate relationship. Completely different spectrum because everything is based on an emotional.
Mhm.
And I shift gear and learn about relationship as opposed to business. So I could have a better understanding of how to talk to women or what is empathy or emotional, vulnerability, things like that. And that's where it kind of shift gear and I start learning about the relationship psychology and took therapy. I actually took therapy during that relationship, but I took therapy now for myself in order to figure out what's wrong with me and how to maintain it. Not necessarily, you can't really fix stuff that's already because of your upbringing, but you can always be aware of it and then maintain of how
What's wrong
to
with you then?
a lot of things. But so that's where it kind of initiated into the relationship stage. And I've had first dates with people outside of dating app. And a friend of mine, he mentioned, well, why don't you try dating app? And I was like, okay, I'll try dating apps. And that's what I've kind of learned. There's the science that I mentioned earlier about all the descriptions and all the photos and
But
things
did
like
you
that.
read about it? Did you read about how like use dating app, how to like put a good profile pictures
Yeah.
or like how to quote or something like that?
Yeah, there's a process, and it's not necessarily all the same.
Mm.
It's catered to you, and I've made mistakes. I've made some changes, and I talked to people
Mm.
online and went on first dates with people online. The first date was like the very first of the first date was nerve-wracking and got rejected. But that was okay, like move on and she wasn't the one and things like that. But
Who's
that's
the one?
we started like that's when you start filtering out like what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and that's really important. And obviously even before the dating app, I took improv class
Mhm.
because I was listening to a podcast on relationship, and they were like, if you want to be funny, if you want to make a conversation, take improv. And honestly, improv has helped me a lot with continuing a conversation. Now I
Mm.
have a bad habit of not ending conversations, and that's why we have a podcast, and that's why me and her talk for like months on end about random things all the time. And doing improv has helped with the dating scene. You have better conversations with women, and not just women, just with everyone.
Mhm.
You're able to share experience. You're able to public speak in a very nice manner. You're able to
Mm.
portray yourself and think before you speak type
Mhm.
of aspect. And obviously, it's just fun. You're funnier,
Mhm.
you're more out there, and it's easier to share experiences with other people just because of it. And on top of that, not only that, I have a lot of experience with traveling, with things that are interesting. It's just improv kind of kickstart that into portraying that to other people
Mhm.
outside of what's in my mind and what's in my social media and what's my dating app. And that has helped a lot. And I think that's really most important for guys, right? Most guys now they like to play games, they like to go out and drink and things that most guys do. And I think that's where the mistake comes in. I think you should find things that are could be interesting and try out those things.
Mm.
There was this Reddit post of like, I'm gonna wait for the right person to travel to this location. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. Like, why would you want to wait for that? Because you want to travel in order for you to have that conversation
Well,
with the
don't
partner.
say that. It's not dumb. Everyone is different.
Sure, but my point is try out many different
Yeah. Like
and
if you not enjoying doing stuff by yourself, then you could not enjoy doing stuff with someone else.
100%.
Yeah. So like spend time doing things by yourself and enjoying it, not like, oh, I have to eat by myself or like I have to travel by myself. No. Like learn to enjoy little things in life. When you travel alone, you have more time to look at the nature, the people, like everything around you. But when you travel with a partner, there's different kind of enjoyment there, but still.
Yeah. And funnily enough, last year today, I was in Iceland
Mm.
and it was a great time. I was traveling alone and I traveled alone before, and I think it's an experience people should have at
Let me travel
least.
alone then.
No. Anyways, like when I was in Iceland, I learned how to just go up to someone and have a conversation. And honestly, it's the best thing that ever happened because half of that trip, maybe even more, I was hanging out with these two Indian guys, and they're the funniest guy. And oddly enough, we share the same itinerary, and I still
Yeah.
keep in contact with them today.
Mm.
But when you travel by yourself, you start thinking about stuff. You
Yeah.
start putting yourself out there in terms of, I need to speak to someone. If I don't speak to
Mhm.
someone, then it's just a like you're just gonna be alone. And some people are
Yeah.
okay with that, which is cool.
Mhm.
They use that as a sense of finding your own purpose, finding yourself,
Yeah.
seeking
Or
what's
healing.
or healing, sure. And I've met people along the way during that trip that
Yeah.
they needed a sense of time for themselves to heal, and they shared that experiences with me, even though we just met, and that's probably the first and last time we're ever gonna meet.
Mm.
But yeah,
That was me traveling
yeah,
to heal myself.
yeah.
But yeah.
So and that like I said, that is important, right? Let's shift gears here and tell us more about after that initial first date. Obviously, you had
What happened?
multiple first dates. What kind of kickstarted our relationship?
There's a sense of curious there because you barely text me. You were so nonchalant, and I tell him and his friend all the time about this. He was so nonchalant in the first couple dates when we first went out. I'm like, "Well, what the hell is this? Are you like serious or not?" And after the first date, I had to go to Paris and he has to go to Colorado. Yeah. So we didn't see each other for like a month because after Paris I got sick and he has to go to the temple in New York for a retreat or something, right?
Meditation retreat.
Yeah, meditation retreat. So we didn't see each other for a month. And when I saw his story from Colorado, I was like, there's a girl in the background. What is this? You playing with me? So I'm like, I ghosted him. I didn't talk to you for like I didn't reply to your message. And you told me you kind of know that and you tried to gauge me back in. How did you gauge me back in?
So she went to Paris, and I'm a big credit card aficionado or something like that. So I like to travel and utilize credit cards for things like that. But yeah, I saw one of the posts of, hey, going to Paris for a cheaper route. And that kind of instituted that curiosity of, oh, conversation starters. And that's where we kind of kick it back up.
When I saw a girl in his background story, I was like, "Mm, so he's not serious with me, right? So I'm just gonna keep him as a friend because he sounds like he knows so much, like in our first date." So
So what happens after that? Like going to the second date and third date and things like that.
second date and third dates more about like we talk a lot. Like I would bring up questions, like deep questions to learn about this guy. What did I ask you? I asked you about what you find attractive in a woman, what you can't tolerate, and you said laziness or something like that along that line.
Yeah, I mean, what are the things that I find attraction into a woman? It's mostly like ambitious. Like if I see you trying to strive to a certain goal, doesn't necessarily have to be a business. It doesn't have to be education. It's just got to be something to strive for, and you're working really hard. Have a sense of purpose. I think that's important. And obviously, the next one is personality or physical attributes are a huge one. I think for most guys are the same thing. And another one is like, how can we fit with each other? If we just sit down and be bored and not do anything, are we okay with that? Or do we have to do something in order to fulfill our kind of, our mind? And if that's the thing, then we're not comfortable with each other. And that's the
Mhm.
way I see it. We're the opposite ends. Like, what are the things that I don't like is complete opposite of the ambitious thing. Is if you're lazy, if you don't really have anything that's set up in your life, that's something that I don't want to be in, because for somebody like me, I'm trying out many different things.
Mhm.
I have multiple businesses. I try to network as much as possible and kind of have multiple facets in my life that I want to continue to grow and build.
Yeah.
And if I have, support that does the same thing and are okay with me doing that, then that would be an amazing match, as opposed to the complete end where you're not doing anything, you're just sitting down, and that's okay for a day or so, but at least have a sense of purpose, and I think that's what's really most important for me.
Mhm. Yeah, that's also we have that in common. Like we like ambitious people and we also have like a purpose in life. He like doing real estate and I'm very passionate about like fashion and marketing. I'm in marketing. But in our second dates or third dates, we talk about that a lot. We talk about values. And on our second date, I was like, I date for marriage. And he was, I remember you took like 3 or 5 seconds of silence. Then you asked me improv question onto that topic. I aged that, okay? It's improv. It's like you asked me like where do you want to get married or stuff like that. I already know it's improv.
Improv,
I
it's
can
more of a
see it
curious
from
question.
miles
It's a
away.
curious question. It's like, where do you want to get
No.
married? Santorini, Greece.
Well, I like that, but I have
Okay.
somewhere else in mind. Anyway, we talk a lot about our values. Like we have the same family values. We like long term relationship. We date for marriage, right?
Yes.
Yeah, we share a lot of different values in life. Like come from traditional background, Asian background too. So
I
yeah,
think that that's what really, really is important. The values and the background, right? The values obviously is you could have multiple different interests. Like you like fashion and marketing, and I
yeah,
like real estate and business. Completely different avenues,
yeah.
but somewhat intertwined as well. But our values remain the same.
Hmm.
Like, what are the most important things that we want align with each other? However, when you have different backgrounds and different values, that's kind of where it kind of deteriorate the relationship. And I like to say that in my previous relationship, it's a sunk cost fallacy where our values, she came from a different ethnicity outside of the Asian culture, and sometimes we would have fights or arguments because our values and culture difference is a huge one. It's like I asked, why are we doing this, or she asked, why are we doing that? And
To be honest, sometimes like even if you come from the same background or like the same culture, it's not guaranteed that you're gonna be compatible with each other. So you need to find out what what you're compatible with, like what kind of personalities of that person or what he do, and when you be with that person, are you guys growing together or one growing and one left behind?
yeah,
Or are you motivated enough with each other or you just feel less motivated?
and like we said earlier,
Mhm.
we this works for us. It's not
Yeah.
working for other people. Some people are willing, one side is willing to compromise as much as
Mhm.
possible in order
Yeah.
to match with the other person. Our main suggestion is understand that what your values are and make sure that the next person or the partner that you're with share that same value.
Yeah.
And despite the background, despite your upbringing, make sure you understand each other, why you're doing the things that you're doing. I think that's what most therapy sessions are for.
Yeah.
You tell your story, you tell what's going on in your life, then you
Mhm.
figure out why. Why does that happen? And a good therapist will ask the right
Why is
questions.
this happen?
Yeah, and usually it comes from the same answer. Is because you
Mhm.
were raised that way. This is your environment, not necessarily because of your family, but maybe because of your friends and people you associate yourself
That's
around.
why I like to ask about the other person's childhood when I go on dates because that dictates a lot of your behavior and your personality growing up. Like either your childhood or your environment that you grew up in, like who you're surrounding yourself with. Like I would ask about those stuff. I did ask about those stuffs with you.
Yeah, and
And I test you all the time.
really, no way.
But it's good to like sometimes it's good and bad because the person who get tested, they didn't know anything happening. Like you wouldn't know what is the good answer for that, right? I would ask you something randomly and it's just that's why you answer it with your real thoughts because you don't know what is a good answer. So, ladies,
Well, I'm authentic in that
yeah,
regards, and honestly, I had my prep work from my therapist because she asked the same questions, and obviously, I answered the question that she asked, which with a little bit of fine tuning and a little bit of understanding of experiences and
yeah.
having that conversation with her, it was like a very well made answer, and that's come from the heart as opposed to interview questions where you could just fabricate it to make you look good.
Yeah, but I would want to say that I'm not on therapy. You are, but I think therapist is like very good for yourself. The reason I'm not on therapy because I have a lot of people around me that I can share my story with, like my friends and I talk to my mom all the time about everything in life. So like you kind of have that emotional support system. So you not necessarily need a therapist in a way, but I think therapist is really good for people who want to learn about themselves or like to heal.
Well, your mom is your therapist at this point, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
You know what? Like sometimes I come to her with our relationship problems.
She goes on my side all the time.
I like it like that because she's like really fair. Like she is no filters. She's gonna talk like straight to my face that you're wrong. You need to like grow up or stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, well, so the reason I got a therapist was because one, I knew that I wanted a completely unbiased opinion. And I
Mhm.
think if I go to my friends or my family, they don't really take in everything.
Yeah,
They took it as,
they would go to your side. And I saw this in one of the podcasts from someone. Don't quote me on this, but so when you have like marriage problems or relationship problems, don't go to that friend that always sided with you. Like go to someone who's like always fair and swear about everything. Like they're gonna give you like real insights.
yeah.
They're gonna save your marriage.
And that's why I went to a therapist is because I didn't want to have that unbiased opinion with anyone. And I knew that having someone who have practice, who's doing it on a daily basis, and I'm a
Yeah.
big proponent of hiring things out to people who are really do that thing on a
Yeah.
daily
Good at
basis.
what they're doing.
Absolutely, and that's why I went to her and she asked majority of the time, I always ask for advice, but she always hit me
Yeah.
back with the right questions, and I was like, "That's a good question." And that translated into everything I have in my life, right? I don't go to therapy anymore, and I think the most important time to go to therapy is when you're healthy, not when
Mhm.
you seek or seek therapists the most. Go to therapy when you're at your best, not necessarily at your best, but like when you start understanding of like, okay, I'm doing things wrong and I need to figure out why. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you have a good mindset of the growth mindset of I
Mhm.
want to learn more about myself.
Yeah.
And that's the best time to go to therapy because you could be vulnerable at the same time you can learn, as
Yeah.
opposed to you are, struggling and you're trying to figure things out and
Yeah.
you're so clouded with the anxiety in your head that everything that takes in from the therapist or from the other person is completely going from one ear to the next ear because you're so worried about the main thing,
Yeah.
as opposed to having some sort of healthy mindset in order for you to grow to understand yourself is the best way to go.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, this works for us, but probably is not necessarily work for everyone because everyone is different and some people are more like introverts, so they're not willing to tell their story
Sure.
to anyone. And they just keep that bottle up inside and sometimes it's hard to like express yourself too. So just find anything that works for you. This working for us, but it's not for everyone, I guess.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So don't quote us on this. We're not responsible for this.
Different personalities and different perspective.
Yeah. And I feel like relationship advice or relationship in general got affected or like influenced a lot by Disney and social media.
True.
Yeah. Like we as girls, like women growing up, believe that, oh, when you saw that person, you would know. No, you would never know. You need time. You need time to learn about that person. You need time to learn about yourself and the relationship with that person. Or sometimes they would say that love at first sight, or
This fantasize.
yeah, they fantasize a relationship should always like be happy and stuff. Like there's no struggle in a happy relationship. But to be honest, even a happy relationship would have some challenges. Like there are times that we're not at our best selves. Like we have problems in our life. Like with families or with friends or with business and stuff like that. And we may carry that into the relationship. It's important to leave the fantasy out and start like working on real life stuff.
That's really a good point in our relationship, and we talked about this in this entire episode actually, that when you first came here, you focus on self-growth, you focus on your education, you
Yeah.
focus on reading things, you focus on researching many different things to become an adult. And that's your self-growth. And my self-growth is the same thing. Associating myself with the right people, focusing on what's important for the future. And that is the most important thing before even going into a relationship. You
Hmm.
can't just go in naive and not knowing anything and hopefully being in a relationship will help everything. It doesn't go like that. Focus on yourself, understand yourself, go to therapy if you need to. Take some time for yourself to travel on your own and have responsibilities on your own to showcase to someone that, hey, I could be with you. I already have all these things lined up and we could be a great partner. And that's what a really good relationship is: two interdependent people
Hmm.
choosing to be with each other.
Yeah.
Like me and you, like you can do your own thing and still be okay. And
Yeah.
I could do my own thing and still be okay. But we decided to be in this relationship. We decided to share time and share love and affection with each other
Hmm.
without everything else falling into place. And that is really most important. Most relationship, and I wouldn't say most relationship, but most like boyfriend and girlfriend, they were like, I need that person in my life to for me to do things that I want to do and things like that. No,
Yeah.
you gotta figure shit out on yourself,
Yeah.
then have that relationship and share those.
But I mean, I have some friends that they're so afraid to get into relationship because they said they're not healing yet. Well, I mean, it's okay to take time to heal, to learn about yourself, to like feel less anxious when you walk into a new relationship, but also like put yourself out there. Like you can't learn about how you're gonna be in a relationship without one,
Mm,
right? You have to be in one in order to know how you're gonna behave around that person or how you're gonna behave without that person.
mm,
Like when you're on a business trip, for example, how I behave. Do I feel anxious? Is that because of myself I'm insecure or is because that I'm missing something? Like
mm.
I didn't enjoy being on my own or stuff like that. Like you really have to figure things out. Like with and without that person, how you gonna be.
Yeah, that's really important. Do you have any final tips for girls and guys out there for dating and
For girls, it's not really advice. It's just my own experience that what I did. To be honest, I failed multiple times in dating life in general too before. And I have a lot of stuff to learn now. But all I can say is that when you put yourself out there for girls, be cautious, like care about yourself first, like put yourself as a priority. No one gonna help you if you don't help yourself. So to like care about yourself. And when you go on dates, ask about important stuff that you want to know. Like if you want that, have your non-negotiables. If you want that person to be ambitious, or if you don't want that person to smoke, then just set your standard right there. Like don't compromise your standard like that because you know it's not going to end well if you compromise your standard, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. But for guys, I don't have much for guys to be honest because well, I only think that if you can't take a girl out for like a fancy dinner, then plan something like put effort in, be genuine, authentic with yourself, like on a budget is fine. Like play the game that you can play. Like you don't have to like go up too high like for a fancy dinner, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a dinner. as long as you have like good conversation with the person and you find something that attracts you or compatible with you.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
good.
Mm.
For me, for women is give us kind of opportunity in a way, like, and be more kind of more not specific, be more
Mm.
specific and what you guys want in a guy. You know, not the typical, 6'5" finance guy, whatever,
Blue eyes.
blue eyes, what is it, trust fund?
Yeah.
But be more specific, like not just say I want a nice guy.
Well, probably they don't know that either.
Sure, and
Yeah.
but you
That's why you need to learn.
you start filtering those out and
Yeah.
have those non-negotiables, but be very clear in those things and get some experience out there, right? And go on a first date, put yourself out there as well,
Yeah.
but do it cautiously, obviously.
Mhm.
Another thing is for girls is be more direct.
Mm.
It's really difficult, right? You guys
I'm
are
guilty of this.
yeah, you guys are very, very kind. Like I never met a woman that's not, that's not kind, and they want to be nice and they don't want to hurt feelings. But sometimes for guys, especially in dating or maybe you're in a relationship, like it's okay to tell us upfront what you like and don't like, and we could figure out that way as opposed to us trying to figure out this maze of what is I'm okay means when I'm asking you a yes or no question and I think that's most girls are like that, and I understand where you guys coming from, but it's just an improvement, I would say.
Well, I think I'm pretty straightforward with you,
You are
right?
not want to
I
ask
give
you
a
where you
lot of
want to eat
attitude.
all the time. For guys, two things, maybe more. Yeah, maybe three things. One is understand emotion, understand relationship, understand how to talk to women, understand what is empathy in general, and focus on that as opposed to the coding of if this happened, then this happened. If she says this, then she says this. You can't translate it that way. You can't
Yeah.
translate what you see in a book or what you've read in a book, what you listen to in a podcast,
Yeah.
and translate into that woman that you
Every girl
have.
is different.
Yeah, every girl's different and every guy is different. You
Mhm.
can't just say all girls are the same, all guys are the same. We come from different upbringings, different
Yeah.
backgrounds, and that you just gotta focus on eh, understanding that and kind of deciphering in your best capabilities. And if you're wrong, understand that when you're wrong.
Mm.
And we make mistakes all the time, and that's how you learn. Another thing is that another thing is that do more interesting stuff.
Mm.
Most guys, we play games or go to the bar or do these simple,
Well,
basic
what
things.
that's interesting to them?
Yeah, but it's not really gonna get you to have girls that are interested or a partner that are interesting. But
No,
it
there
is
always someone for everyone.
sure, but
Yeah.
the percentage of girls that want a guy that play games all day and sit on a couch is not really high.
I get it, but there are girls who like to play games too, and they meet through games.
Sure, but
Yeah.
there's only a small portion of that. But if for the bigger and this is also great, right? You don't want to play games all day and then and kind of you know s-
I mean, I
s-
guess what he mean is to have a hobbies. To
yes,
yeah, to have like a real hobbies that you enjoy doing in your free time other than just like games and bars. Like develop yourself in a way. Like a
yeah.
hobbies that you can learn from sometimes. Yes.
Talk to more people. Most guys are afraid to talk to girls, especially if they're really attractive. Subjectively, they're intimidated. They don't have the confidence. They think that oh maybe she found a better person. Maybe I'm not the good one for her. It really is doesn't matter. It's still a person like
Mm.
that. Maybe she have makeup. Maybe she's wearing clothes that you enjoy and things like that. And that shouldn't stop you from
Confidence is key.
yeah. Like that shouldn't stop you from trying to talk to her but start off slow. Talk to people at your gym, talk to random strangers. That's what I've learned when I was traveling alone is talk to more people. And when you talk to more people, guys or girls, doesn't matter. you have this repetition, you're practicing. And then once you speak to a woman that potentially you want to be in a relationship with, then you already have the practice. And I
But
think that's really important.
well, be careful talking to people in the gym because some people just go to the gym just for workout. So be careful.
Yeah, I'm just saying in
Yeah.
general, it doesn't have to be girls. It could be
Yeah.
other guys, or it could
Like
be
if
in
you're
a,
comfortable enough to like strike a conversation with people, it shows like you have confidence and
yeah,
you like willing to like make friends or
yeah.
yeah.
The main point is have that repetition. Practice is key.
Hmm.
And once you start getting a little riskier and see that beautiful girl, obviously understand your surrounding first, right? If it's
Hmm.
somewhere in an alleyway and she's cautious, or maybe it's somewhere that's kind of questionable, then don't do it. Or even
Yeah.
if she's at the gym and she's pumping weights and she have headphones on and she's completely uninterested, understand your environment. But then
Yeah.
when you're in that environment where it's okay, whether you're in a party or a get
Hmm.
together, and she's in a comfortable kind of location
Yeah.
with
Public
other people,
space.
public
Yeah.
space, exactly. And that's your cue, and you want to strike up a conversation. You
Hmm.
have your practice with all the other guys and
Yeah.
girls you have done in the past without any, the interest of relationship. Now, it's your time to shine. And I think that's really important. Woo! We talk about a lot of things in this podcast. What,
Damn.
what do you think?
5:39.
Yeah, I'm great in this. So this is completely off the cuff. I did have a couple of questions. I didn't even read them, but what do you think overall about this thing?
It's good. It's like our conversation, like what we always like talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, I have ADHD, so I think about a lot about different stuff, but I don't remember now.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll just sign off from there. That's all for now. We shared a lot of insights on dating and how we started dating. Hopefully, that provides some sort of insight for people who are out there,
Yeah.
maybe want to date, maybe are dating, and we're like, oh, they have a really great stories or want to know more about us. This is completely off the cuff and
Yeah.
was-
We're very unprepared for this.
well, not necessarily unprepared. I'm just really good at organizing stuff. When you're, need some work on organizing. But anyways, this has been great. It's been awesome.
Nyeh.
Thanks for coming on, and we'll definitely go more.
Thank you for having me. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for watching or listening to the Kaizen Blueprint podcast. If you got value from today's episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. It really helps us grow and reach more listeners like you. And don't forget to stay connected. Subscribe to our newsletter at kaizenblueprint.com for exclusive insights, resources, and updates. Keep striving for growth, take action. And remember, small, consistent improvements create massive impact. See you on the next episode. Peace out.